Unit 2, Part 1 notes, I can graph a line using an equation in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is this form right here, y equals mx plus b. Where m is always the slope, the number next to x, and b is always the y-intercept. And now I really want you to pay attention to the plus sign there. That plus sign is taken with the b, it's circled with that, because this could also be y equals mx minus b. And if it does say minus b, that just makes the b a negative value. So it is really important that we pay attention to the sign there. Standard form is plus, but if it does say minus there, that is because the b value is negative. Reminder, slope when we are working with a graph, because we're going to be graphing, is rise over run. So we have that up and down value over that left and right value. So in this case, the slope here for this graph is negative 2/3. And then the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. Now the y-axis is your vertical axis. It's the one that goes up and down. That's your y-axis. So for this one right here, we can see that the y-intercept is at -2 because the line that is graphed crosses the y-axis at that blue point right there at -2. So we're going to jump right in. We're going to graph the linear function. So when we graph a linear function in slope-intercept form, the first thing we want to do is we want to identify our m, our slope, and our b, our y-intercept. So in this case, our m is next to the x. It's that 3/4. And then our b value is +4, so it is a +4. Now, when we graph a linear function using this method, we always start with our b, our y-intercept. I always like to think b for begin. This is where we begin our graph. It's the starting point. So we're going to begin at 4 on the y-axis. So I'm going to find 4 on the y-axis right there. Plot that point. And that's that first point. Now, in order to make a line, we need at least 2 points on the graph. So to get those next points, we are going to use our slope, our rise over run. And this rise over run tells me that I'm rising 3. So I'm going to go up 3 because it's positive. So I go up. And then for that bottom number always tells you the right value. So we are going to go right 4. So from this blue point, that starting point, we don't start in the middle, we start at this blue point that's on the y-axis. We're going to go up 3 lines, so 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go over 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once I get there, I'm going to put a big point, so I remember that that's where my graph is going through. And then I'm going to do that one more time. We always want to try to get 3 points on there just to make sure we have a nice straight line. So we're going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to connect those 3 points that are on my graph, and then I have graphed the linear function. All right, let's do another example. We have y equals -1/3 x minus 2. So my m, remember, is always next to the x. It's that -1/3. And my b is that -2. Remember, we always take the signs with the numbers. So if there's a minus sign or a negative sign in front of it, that comes with. Now our first step is to plot that y-intercept on the y-axis. So we're going to find -2, and we are going to put a point right there at -2. Next step, we are going to use our slope, our rise over run, to find those next points. So our slope is -1 over 3. So now when I read that, the -1 over 3, I only say the negative at the beginning with the 1. So it's -1 over 3. So because my rise value is negative, it says -1, that means instead of going up, I'm going to go down 1. But that 3 value on the bottom is still positive. It's just a 3, so I am still going to go right. So that's why I said that bottom number always tells you your right value, and it's that top number that either is up for positive or down for negative. So we're going to follow this pattern to get those next points on the graph. So we're going to go down 1, right 3. So from that blue point, that starting point on my y-axis, I'm going to go down 1 over 3. Put a point. Down 1 over 3. Put a point. And I'm just going to do that until I run out of room, and then connect the points on my graph. All right, one last example for you guys. We have y equals 4x minus 5. So we identify our m. Our m is 4 next to the x. And our y-intercept, our b, is that -5. Take that minus sign with the number. Now again, we always start with that b, that y-intercept. We plot that on our y-axis. So we're going to put that here at -5. Next, we are going to use our slope to find the next points. Now in this case, we are given a whole number, not a fraction. So it's not written in that rise over run form just yet. So anytime you're given a whole number, to make it a fraction, we're just going to put it over 1. Anything divided by 1 just stays that value. So if you ever have a whole number, it's really written 4 over 1. So we can always add a 1 to that denominator. So now that we have it in rise over run form, we can say we're going to go up 4 for that +4, and then right 1 for that +1 value. So we're going to start at our blue point, go up 4 points, or 4 lines, excuse me, and then over 1 line, put a point. Do that again, up 1, 2, 3, 4, over 1, put a point. I'm going to do that one more time, up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1. And then we connect those points with our line. And that is how you graph linear functions. So for your classwork today, you are going to practice this on your own. Your instructions are to identify the slope and y-intercept of the function, graph the function, and then identify the animal the line goes through. So we have parrot, fish, panda, crab, monkey, and frog. So on your assignment, you have a linear function. You're going to tell me what the slope is. So in this case, it's 1/2. And what your y-intercept is, which in this case is 3. And then you're going to graph that. You're going to take these points, drag them over, put them on the graph if you're doing it virtually. If you're doing it on paper, you're just going to do it on paper, and that's totally fine. But if you are choosing to do it virtually, you can drag these points to their location on the graph. You can drag this green line and rearrange it so that it fits between your points, and then identify the animal that it goes through. Does the green line go through the parrot, go through the fish, go through the panda? Whatever that animal is, you're going to type it there. And that is what the check-in is going to ask you. It's going to ask you which animal the lines go through to make sure that you graphed them correctly. So make sure you do complete that animal portion right there. As always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Otherwise, go ahead and complete your practice.